As I sat in church, listening to the sermon on Matt 16:24, memories flooded my mind. My parents' voices echoed in my head, repeating the same words they had drilled into me growing up. If you want to be a part of this family, you have to deny yourself and only desire what we want for you. It was like hearing Plato's philosophy all over again. In order to reach true enlightenment, we must reject everything in this physical world. And here it was, being preached to me as Christian doctrine. As I sat in church, my mind drifted to my friends. The ones who claimed to follow Jesus seemed to lack a strong sense of their own identity, while my non-religious friends were fiercely independent and confident. This contradiction troubled me. If being a Christian meant denying myself, as I had been taught, then I was all for it. But if the teachings didn't align with the original words of Matthew 16:24, then I needed to dig deeper and find the truth for myself. As I entered my apartment that evening, exhausted and ready to relax, I noticed my Greek Bible sitting on the coffee table. Without thinking, I picked it up and flipped to Matthew 16:24 and its parallel passage in Luke 9:23. But as I read the words, a realization hit me. Jesus didn't speak Greek, he spoke Hebrew. My Greek Bible was just a translation, and it made me wonder, what were the original words in Hebrew for Matthew 16:24 and Luke 9:23? As I studied the Hebrew translation, a realization hit me like a ton of bricks. The Hebrew word for deny means to act against something that is false and choose instead what is true. It reminded me of Eve in the garden, choosing to believe the serpent's lies instead of God's truth. But what does it really mean in Matthew 16:24 and Luke 9:23? As I read these passages in context, it became clear that denying oneself meant living according to the Torah, rather than our own misguided beliefs. In both Matthew 16:24 and Luke 9:23, Jesus urges his followers to do more than just listen to his teachings. He implores them to actively follow and imitate his actions. This echoes the words of Paul, who encourages others to mimic his own imitation of Christ. Even John emphasizes the importance of living as Christ did for those who claim to be in him. From these passages, it is clear that true discipleship involves actively emulating the example set by Jesus himself. It requires a wholehearted commitment to not only learning his teachings, but also embodying them in daily life. As I delved into this new perspective, it became clear that it was a much more reasonable and cohesive viewpoint than Plato's philosophical ideas disguised as Christian teachings. The concept of Christian escapism and interpreting biblical events through a modern lens, where one assumes that Jesus' disciples fully understood his references to his crucifixion, felt misguided in the face of this newfound understanding. But what resonated with me most was the realization that Matt 16:24 and Luke 9:23 were not about self-denial, as many had interpreted them to be. I sat back in my chair, feeling the tension ease from my shoulders. According to the Bible, it was perfectly normal and healthy to have a strong sense of self. A smile spread across my face as I realized that I didn't have to suppress or hide who I truly was anymore. Patreon.com/Kaplan